never stop reading Bible. We're going to be exploring the prophecies of Zechariah.
Specifically, we're going to focus on the first 3 chapters. And you've got to understand, Zechariah's message comes at this super critical moment in Israel's history. I'm talking about a time of rebuilding, but also just deep uncertainty. Hope was the one thing they were desperately needing.
So, to really get the power of his message, you first have to understand the man himself, Zechariah, and the world he was living in. See, he was speaking to people who had just returned from this long, grueling exile in Babylon. They were finally back home, which sounds great, right? But the reality on the ground was, well, it was discouraging. That huge, monumental task of rebuilding God's temple, it had completely stalled out.
And this is where it gets so powerful. The hope, it literally begins with the prophet's name, Zechariah. It means, the Lord remembers. I mean, can you just imagine hearing that? Especially when you feel completely and totally forgotten? His name itself is a declaration, a promise of God's faithfulness. And that idea, it becomes the absolute core theme of his entire book.
And listen, he wasn't just some random guy either. Zechariah was a priest, and he came from a really well-known family that had made that journey back from Babylon. He actually prophesied right alongside another prophet, Haggai. You can almost think of them as a tag team, you know? Their job was to re-energize a super weary people to get back to work and finish what God had called them to do.
Okay, so that brings us to chapter 1. And what's interesting is that the book doesn't kick off with some crazy, strange vision. Nope. It starts with a really powerful, direct plea from God. Because you see, the people were physically back in the land, sure, but their hearts were still miles away.
And this one verse, it's the foundation for literally everything that comes next. It's a call to repent, right? A sharp reminder of the mistakes their ancestors made. And it's also a conditional promise. God's presence, his return to them, is tied directly to their willingness to turn back to him first. And that's the key takeaway here, you guys. For God, relationship always comes before restoration.
So right after this call to return, Zechariah gets this series of 8 visions. And the first 2, they're all about divine justice. First, he sees these horsemen patrolling the whole earth, which is basically a sign that God sees everything, he's fully aware of what's going on. Then, he gets this vision of 4 horns, and these horns represent the very powers that scattered and oppressed his people. And what happens? They get shattered by 4 craftsmen. The message here is crystal clear. God is in control, and the people who have hurt you, they're going to be dismantled.
All right, so we go from that powerful promise of justice, and then the visions kind of pivot. They shift to this glorious picture of restoration. Chapter 2, man, it gives the exiles this absolutely breathtaking sneak peek of the future God has planned for Jerusalem.
And this next vision is it's a brilliant way to show the sheer scale of God's plan. So a man shows up with a measuring line, right? He's all ready to map out a normal walled city. But God stops him. He says the new Jerusalem is going to be so overflowing with people that it can't even be contained by walls. So you're probably asking, well, what about its defense? Get this. God himself promises to be a wall of fire all around it. I mean, what a radical promise. It's about boundless blessing and the ultimate divine protection.
So you gotta understand, this incredible vision wasn't just some nice little story about the future. No, it was an urgent invitation. It was a call going out to all the Jews who were still in Babylon. Come home. Get out of there. Flee from the land of the north and come be a part of this amazing restoration.
Okay, now we get to chapter 3. And this whole chapter unfolds like this powerful, totally symbolic courtroom drama. The camera, so to speak, zooms in on one single person, the high priest, a man named Joshua. And he's standing there as a representative for the entire nation and all of its guilt.
It is an absolutely incredible scene. You have Joshua standing before the angel of the Lord, and he's wearing these filthy garments, which are a symbol of the nation's sin. And who's there with him? Satan himself, acting as the prosecutor, accusing him. But then God steps in. He rebukes Satan, orders those filthy clothes to be taken off, and replaces them with clean, beautiful robes. See, this isn't just about one guy getting a new outfit. It's a living, breathing parable of the whole nation being cleansed, forgiven, and completely restored by God.
So are you seeing the progression here? These first 3 chapters, they build on each other. It starts with a call to repent, then moves to a promise of restoration, and then we get this powerful demonstration of purification. But all of it, every single vision, is pointing forward to one ultimate figure who's going to bring all these promises to their final, complete fulfillment.
And right at the end of chapter 3,
God gives this figure a special name, my servant the branch. Now, this is a really famous messianic title. He is the one who will truly accomplish this rebuilding work. He's the one who will, get this, remove the sin of the land in a single day. And what does that bring? Ultimate forgiveness and peace.
So, when you boil it all down, the message of Zechariah starts with a simple but incredibly powerful truth. God remembers. And it all leads to this incredible promise for the future. It really is a journey, isn't it? From guilt to grace, from a pile of ruins to a glorious restoration. And that leaves us with a really big question to chew on. How does an ancient promise like this one, a promise about a God who remembers and restores, still offer real, genuine hope for us in our world today?
From the Center Studio.